Hello, this is Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that. Today I'm taking a little bit different of a direction. Usually I'm insulting feminists that are critiquing what they say or what they do. And today I'm going to talk to hopefully who would be my audience, men. Sorry for that. So today is going to be talking about mostly to single men, although I hope that men and women are listening. I think this is important for everyone. So Valentine's is tomorrow, and it's a very tough time for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. Couples, for men it's really hard cuz your partner says they don't want anything and you have to decide, are they really saying they don't want anything, or are they just saying they don't want anything so you can surprise them? And then if you don't do it, you're in the doghouse, and if you do it and they don't want it, um they give you a guilt trip. And more than that, this holiday is proportionately female. This seemed, they say the greeting card company was the one who designed this holiday. And but whatever its origin, now it's a holiday for women. It's all centered around getting women what they want by making them feel like a princess for a day. And we have other holidays, like a person's birthday that's supposed to be that, but then again that's mostly for females anyways, to make them feel special on their day, which they should, don't get me wrong, but there are not really days for men to feel special. It's kind of always like at someone else's expense that you have to even get a glimpse of feeling special. But Valentine's Day is the worst day. And to even suggest that you should get something special is being selfish. It's about the woman. And it's a hard day, but it's also hard for single people. And I acknowledge that single women have a tough time, but the single man is ignored more than a single woman. It's almost become a trope that, we have to fawn over a single woman who can't get a date, while looking at a man and saying, hey, what a loser. He can't get a date on Valentine's. So, a little bit about me. And so you can understand why I'm someone who can speak on today's subject about single men and Valentines and some life lessons that I've learned over the years. I'm nearly 35, and I'm a very intelligent man, but I'm also single. I haven't had a date with anyone in about 3 years. It'll be 3 years in June. The reason why I know that is because that's when I became disabled. I had a work injury, a concussion, and it has left me disabled and most likely for the rest of my life. I'm basically trapped in my room 24/7. I can handle being here. It's my environment, but going out, I have difficulty. I begin to basically, my brain begins to crash. It basically freezes up. I can't handle the mental overload of being in a new environment, being around people, noise, lights, what have you. So I have been single for a long time. However, it hasn't always been like that. Once upon a time, I wouldn't say a popular guy, but I would say that I was someone I could be proud of. And that was actually right before my injury. My injury robbed me of a lot of things. I had friends, I had girlfriends, I had an active social life. There was always something for me to do. And in fact, I was so busy that I started neglecting some of my other responsibilities. And it was great. It was the life I always wanted, the life I always dreamed of. But even before that happened, I had a life that I did not like, that I was lonely, I was isolated, I was the scum of society, that no one wanted to be around me. Sound familiar? Well, I understand what a lot of men are going through. Those that are sitting home during Valentine's thinking that no one likes them, that no woman would ever give them a chance, that a beautiful woman looks past them and sees nothing. It's hard. It's very hard. So I understand. I've been there before. And in a lot of ways, I'm there again. But I'm going to tell you a story. This is a story from my life. Um, and the life lesson will kind of come at the end of that. So this is actually a really long story, so I'm going to try to give you the abridged version. But who knows how long it'll take me to do that. I love to talk. So most of my life, I was depressed. From a young age, and pretty much into my adult life, I was very, very depressed. I was lonely. Now, there are a number of factors that contribute. The fact that I didn't go out to social outings, I didn't go to dances because my parents didn't want me to. Um, that I was just, weird. I was different. Any friends I did have, I don't think were my friends. They were just people that seemed to tolerate me. I wasn't really invited to go out to do anything. They'd sit there and talk about all the great parties they had and all of the things that they did, and that was just what they did. I was never a part of their group. In my adult life, I had a chance to reflect on myself. It was around 2005. I had a chance to reflect on myself and realize that I'm not happy in life. I'm just going from paycheck to paycheck, hoping that something new happens, something different happens. I was tired of having work friends, but not having friends outside of work. That they'd all seem to go do something with each other, but I was left out of the picture. That most of my friends were married, so they couldn't hang out. There was just, I'd go home lonely and I would try to distract myself, but it really wasn't enough. Closest friendships I had was those that were online, but there's something to having a person in front of you. So in 2005, I made a decision. Either I kill myself because I just don't want to try, or I do something with my life. I try to make it better. So I tried to make it better. I realized that there were several things that I did that kind of distanced people from me. I was incredibly shy. I was passive aggressive. I was overly sarcastic. I was negative. Um, those were some of the things that I realized about myself. The very shy quality. I mean, I could not talk to anyone that I did not know. Like a sales clerk. If I went into a store and couldn't find something I was looking for, I would just leave. I would not talk to a sales associate. I was so afraid to. And, in my realization that I needed to change, I forced myself to talk to people. And it was such a scary thing to do. And it's like now I do it, I flirt with people, you know, and sometimes I step back and I'm like, wow, is that really me? I mean, I remember when I couldn't do that, and now it just comes so easy. Um, I was overly sarcastic. I mean, a lot more than I am now. I used to just like be sarcastic 24/7 because to me it was funny. I was trying to make people laugh, but what I didn't know is that being overly sarcastic can actually push people away because not every moment needs to be a joke. Sometimes things can be serious. If someone says thank you for something, usually the best response is you're welcome. You don't need to have a funny quip. You can just be polite. You can be a gentleman. Being overly negative. Well, I've never had anything really positive happen in my life up till that point, so I was always negative. And I kind of merged myself into being more of a realist, but especially at work, having a positive attitude, even if fake it till you make it. So, I kept pushing myself to have more of a positive attitude, which then also translated into social groups, just appear. Um, Passive aggressiveness was one of the last things that I worked on. Um, and I didn't even realize I was passive aggressive. Most people who are passive aggressive don't realize that what they're doing is being passive aggressive. And it's actually a hard thing to realize. But, I found out actually because I wrote a character that was passive aggressive and I kind of based the character on me. And another writer is like, oh, you did a really good job of making your character passive aggressive. I'm like, what do you mean? And they kind of explain some of the things, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm passive aggressive. It's a interesting thing. So, I tried to be very mindful of what I was saying. And that, being passive aggressive is basically you expect everyone to already know what you're thinking, to what you already want. I get passive aggressive here and there, mostly when I get very angry at people, but I really try not to. Probably the last thing that I had to work on was my social skills. Now, with all of these changes that I had made, I decided that it was really time for me to start being around people. So I found a social group. And I won't lie, it was a BDSM group. This BDSM group was a lot more social. It was about building connections with people. It wasn't really just about the sex and the play. It was about building a community. It was a very good community for what it was. So I joined this community, which kind of has an open door policy that anyone can join so long as you obey the rules. But living a lifetime of not being around people took its toll on me. And my interactions with people were rough at first. People distanced themselves from me, and I didn't know why. I didn't understand. And this was something that was happening all my life, and I couldn't quite understand. And, I fixed the things that I perceived to be wrong with me, and I reinvented myself as a person, but there was something still wrong. I did have a few friends that seemed to tolerate me well enough, and either they knew and didn't want to tell me, or they were as confused as I were. One day, a few months into this group, I get a call from a friend telling me that all of the women in the group want to go to the board, because we actually had a board of people, and have me kicked out of the group. And I'm like, well, why? What did I do that was wrong? And she told me it was because I was a creep. People found me creepy. Some of the things that they listed is that I'm a very touchy-feely person. So I would touch people a lot. Well, the thing to that is I saw other people touching each other a lot. So I did it because I was mimicking the behavior that I saw. And I am a very touchy-feely person. I get a lot of excitement in touching people, mostly females, but I do enjoy tactile sensations. So I learned that, you can only touch people who really give you permission to touch. And even then, there's only safe places that you can touch them. Not that I ever went up to a girl and groped her, but, it's good to know that usually you just touch people on the shoulders. That's usually the place that you touch people. Maybe the arms if you're a little bit more relaxed with them. Anything further, you need direct permission from them. But usually just a hug and tap someone on the shoulder is the most that you should do with someone that you don't really have that kind of rapport with them. But, don't go up and hug them. Just open up your arms and say, hey, do you want a hug? Or you don't have to say that. You can just open up your arms, and if they accept, they accept. So there was the touching. Then there was the staring. Whenever I was in conversations with people, I would look directly at them, because I was trying to be an attentive listener. And I learned the reason I did that is because I had a very domineering stepfather who demanded you look directly at him. And if you even move your eyes a little bit, he considered that rolling your eyes at him, and I'd get punished severely for that. So it was programmed into me that when someone talks, you look directly at them. I've learned that people don't like that because they feel like you're putting them under a microscope. And what you need to do is you need to look around. Look at other people. Look around the situation. Don't look directly at them. You can make eye contact with them every now and then, but, kind of look, they say look at someone's nose or look at someone's mouth, and don't really make eye contact all that often. There was also that I didn't talk a lot. Well, because people were talking about things that I had nothing to add to. So I wouldn't say anything. There was a whole laundry list of things. And, when you're young, these things are okay because people would just say you don't know that these are things you're not supposed to do. But when you're in your 30s, well, actually I was 29 at the time, if you haven't learned not to do these things, then people will assume that you're doing them on purpose, that you're purposely being a creepy person. And I simply didn't know that my actions were wrong. And no one ever told me my actions were wrong because people don't like confrontation. They don't want to be responsible for making a person feel bad. And they let it, escalate to this point that they want me kicked out when I didn't know what I did was wrong. And maybe I did, well, I know I did wrong, but it's because no one told me that I did wrong until the point that they were ready to kick me out. And I felt like a monster for that. And what I ended up doing is I wrote probably a 3-page apology online for everyone to read, explaining myself. To this day, I kind of feel like I shouldn't have apologized because it really wasn't my fault that no one told me that I did anything wrong, that they're as much to blame for it as me. but I still apologized. I kind of understand what, Shirtgate was about, being forced to apologize for something that you shouldn't need to apologize for. But, a friend at the time said that it would show people that, I want to make an attempt to get better. So I did it. So there was that. And once I did that, people really tried to give me a second chance. Most people did. There was still some people who still decided they didn't want to like me. And within 2 years' time, I ended up getting elected to that board. I was able to turn my life around. I had a couple of relationships, most of them bad. There was one or two that were good. I even had a poly relationship where I was dating two women at one time. And they knew about each other. They knew that I was dating both of them. And it was a committed relationship. I ended up having that in 2 times. They ended badly because poly is an extremely hard relationship dynamic to do, and it really, really requires maturity on all parts. And well, not everyone is mature. Now, before my accident, I just gotten out of a bad relationship. And I decided that, I kept falling into this trap of only dating people that were attracted to me, that wanted to date me. So I dated them, and I convinced myself that I liked them simply because they liked me. And I realized that this was always going to lead to disaster, because if I didn't like the person, it was doomed to fail. If the only reason I dated someone is because they wanted to have sex with me, then it was built on a shaky foundation to begin with. That I should date someone that I really want to date, and not subject myself to, well, this is the best I can do, so that's what I should go with. I deserve better. I do. So I was going to spend 6 months not dating anyone and just building up friendships and trying to build rapport with people rather than to take the shortcut. And, I think a lot of single men do this, where they meet someone who wants to have sex, and so they have sex and then try to make a relationship, and the relationship doesn't work. And the best thing you can do is to spend time getting to know someone and building a more solid foundation before you put sex on the table. But it's like you go so long without sex, you just, jump ahead a few steps, get to the sex, and oh, it was so great. And now you want to have sex all the time. And she's like, well, I just kind of wanted the one time. And it's like, oh, okay. Or, you do have sex, but that's all you have, and there's really nothing more to it than that. So now my life is what it is. I've kind of returned back to what I once was, where I'm lonely, I'm not very happy. I won't say I'm depressed. You might be able to say that, but I don't think I am. I know what depression is, and I don't feel depressed. I feel sad. I feel unhappy about my circumstance, but I'm capable of being happy again. I'm capable of having that life again. Except for my disability holds me back. Many men that I meet, many single men I meet, are in this tailspin. They believe they can't get anyone, that they're not worthy to have love in their life, to do anything with their life. And because they believe that, it becomes true. What your mindset is I don't know if you can hear my stomach right now, but it's growling badly. I just kind of woke up about an hour ago. If you set your mind to something, that's what's going to happen. If you believe that no one loves you, then no one will love you. So if you believe that, you'll never be able to have sex, you'll never get a great girl, you'll never have a relationship, you'll never get married, which in this day and age you shouldn't do anyways, you'll never have a lifelong relationship with someone, then you'll never do it. Now, I'm not saying that the moment you start saying that you will, that you automatically do, but you give yourself a better chance of finding that if you set your mind to doing it. But you kind of get into this circle. You don't think you will, so you don't. But because you don't think you will. And it becomes this vicious circle that you're trapped in. Now, the difference between me and someone who's in this vicious circle is that the only thing that's stopping me from having that kind of life again is the fact that I don't have a job. If I had a job, I could do something with my life. I wish I could work. I really do. A lot of the doctors that I see, they think that I'm just trying to get on disability so I don't ever have to work again. I want to get on disability so I can actually try to do something about my condition to get out of it. I don't want to be on disability for the rest of my life, but at least I need to get some money now so I can try to, survive. But it's not a permanent solution. My permanent solution is getting over my disability so I can go back to work, so I can do something with my life again, to be someone in my life. That's what I want. And the moment I get a job is the moment that I begin to restore my life to what it once was, to be around people, to have love and laughter, friendship, companionship, to always be wanted somewhere, and the chance to be important to people. That's the only thing that stops me, because if I could work, I can be around people again. And that means that my disability will not hold me back anymore. Now, I might be disabled for the rest of my life, but there has to be, some solution. Maybe it's taking 10 prescription medications a day, just to balance myself out. But there has to be something. For the single men that are listening to me, and I only have one person viewing me right now, so you're welcome to type in the chat if you want to share your experience at all. But for the single men that listen to this, yes, you need to have the attitude that, you deserve better. You deserve happiness. You need to have that mentality. Now, I'm not saying be egotistical. I'm not saying you need to be arrogant, but you need to believe right from the beginning that you deserve better. Now, it took me about 5 years to reinvent myself. It's a long and hard journey, and I did this without seeing a therapist. If I had a therapist, it probably would have been a lot faster of a process. Maybe it would have been slower. I don't know, and I can't comment on that. But it was something that I did myself every day, trying to do something either different or maintaining where I was. That if I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to be less shy, then I try to be less shy. If I can do something new and different, try to do something new and different. It's a journey. You can sit there and blame the world for not recognizing that you're a good guy, that no one will ever notice you. Well, you need to give people a reason to notice you. Yes, part of the problem is the world, but most of the problem is generally with ourselves. And I recognize that in myself. I recognize that there were things that kept people from getting close to me. But most importantly, I had to go out there and get it. I had to be part of a social group. And while, yes, I had problems at first with the group, I turned it around and I learned who I needed to be. Now, people will tell you all the time that you shouldn't need to change for other people to like you. That's bullshit. I'm not saying that you have to change, your core self. But there's the person who you are on the inside and there's the person who you are on the outside. The person on the outside has to interact with the world. It's a medium between your core self and their core self. But what we end up doing with our outer self is make it into a wall to protect our inner self. We have defense systems to prevent people from getting close to us. And this in turn does exactly what it's designed to do, to push people away, to prevent people from getting to our vulnerable side. And you need to change your outer self. You need to be more interactive with people. You still need to protect your inner self, but you need to open it up a little bit more so that people can connect with you. I'm going to refresh this screen real quick. And that's not an easy thing to do. I know. I've been there. And it took me it really just took me a long time to do. So the changing, I don't consider it changing myself. I considered it modifying myself. Because a good friend that I had at the time, whenever I was one-on-one with someone I was really comfortable with, my inner self came out. And she said to me, this is the side of you that people need to see. Because if people saw this side of you, they would like you a lot more. And that's when I first began to realize that it was my outer self that really prevented people from getting to know me. And you have to be vulnerable in a situation. It's tough. This is tough for everyone: men, women, gay, straight, pansexuals, transsexuals. No one likes to be vulnerable. And we try to do everything we can to stop ourselves from being vulnerable, being open for attack. And if you want a closeness with people, you have to put yourself in a vulnerable position. Now, when you go out there, you're going to meet people that just seem to be the life of the party, who, walks in and every eye is on them. They're the guy who can get any girl in the place and every girl wants to be with them. And one of the mistakes that I made is I tried to emulate these people. You try to emulate who the people are around you are so you can try to fit in. Don't do that. It sucks that you're not the life of the party. It sucks that, girls are not fawning over you and wanting to be with you. But then, more than likely, they're not people you want to be with in the first place. More than likely, these people fawn over this person because he's so popular. And they want the excitement of dating that person, of sleeping with that person, and being able to kind of put it in other people's faces of, hey, I'm the chosen person now. You want someone who's going to be there for you. And in all honesty, they should have been there for you in the first place, but you most likely pushed them off. And now, if you can get yourself somewhere where you can be more open to people, to give of yourself to people so people can know who you are, and you strip away these bad elements, like mine, where I was passive aggressive, I was overly sarcastic, I was really negative. I stripped those away and just tried to be a positive person who was fun to be around. And sometimes I was kind of pushing myself to do that when I didn't necessarily feel like doing it. I pushed myself to do it anyways. Ended up being happy that I did. But you do that and you get to a place where you can be around people and talking, and you will end up meeting people that deserve to be in your life and start dating people that are worth your time. Because yes, those people who, want to sleep their way to the top, they're not for you. And they're not going to be people that you really want to be with. Because even if you manage to date one, they're only going to be with you long enough to be with someone else. But there are good people out there. There are good women out there, and girls, there are good men out there. Sorry, my mind is starting to go. I have to stop this pretty soon. If you want to be a better person, if you want to make your life different, you've got to start with yourself first. You got to give yourself a hard look. You've got to give yourself a slap in the face. You've got to ask yourself, what is it that might keep people away from me? It's a weird question to ask because, we live in this time of being special snowflakes, that we're all unique and that we're all different and all of our problems are the same, or all of our problems is different from everyone else. And let me lay some truths on you. You're not different. You're not a special snowflake. In fact, most of your life has been lived before. I study tarot a lot, and I'm an atheist, so wrap your head around that. But in my study of tarot, I realized that my life was not unique, that my life has been lived before, that somewhere in all of human history, someone has gone through what I've gone through. Now, it may be the circumstances are different, but what I'm going through has been someone has gone through it before. And that realization made me feel better about myself. That maybe I'm not alone. We live in a world where we want to tell people that they're very unique as a person, but it's simply not true. You're not alone in this world. You don't get born into this world alone. There are people that face what you face. Your pain and experience is not unique to you. And I want you to think about that. I want you to really think about what your life is and the people around you, and realize that even though someone might seem happy, they may not be. They might be hurting the same way you are. They're just putting a mask on. And you might need to put on a mask yourself and just be friendly and jovial with people until people can come to accept you. And then those who are the closest to you, you can reveal some of that pain to. Don't let the pain control you. But, you're not alone. And if anyone wants to, please leave a comment down below on some of the things that you're going through, and I'll try to answer them. but it is possible to turn your life around. And I understand the desire to try to shortcut that and try to, get it right now. But most likely it's going to be something that takes time to do. And when you're ready, go and find a group of people. It doesn't have to be BDSM, although I recommend everyone do BDSM because it can be a great community. But find a group out there to be a part of. And I would do that now if I could. If I could be around a large group of people, I would do it. And right now, my task in life is trying to find a doctor to actually help me to get over my disability or to manage my disability so I can become part of life again. But your life is not over. You still have a chance to do something good with your life. Because I did. I'm proof that it can happen. And Valentine's is going to suck. And there's no secret thing that I can tell you that your life is not going to feel miserable tomorrow. But I challenge you to set tomorrow as a day that you decide that you're not going to be that guy anymore. You're not going to be lonely on Valentine's again. That you're going to go out there and you're going to find some way to make your life into something good, something that you can be proud of. You want to have a really great relationship, go for it. You just want to have sex with a lot of people, go for it. You can have it. But it's not something that can be shortcut. It's not something that you can just say, well, if it's meant to happen, then it'll happen for me. No, you've got to work on yourself. You've got to say, you know what? I deserve it, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it. Because only then will you actually obtain it. You've got to work on it. You want something in life, you've got to work for it. And that's always been true. You don't grow a garden by doing nothing. You've actually got to plant it. You've got to water it. You got to care for your garden in order to get your garden to grow. You want a good life, you've got to work for it. And that is what I leave with you today. Tomorrow's going to suck. And I wish I could say something to change that, but instead, I challenge you to make Valentine's Day the day that you say, I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to analyze my life. I'm going to figure out what it is that keeps me from being around people. Is it my personality? And generally, it's going to be your personality. You might say, well, it's because, I'm fat and no girl likes it. You know what? One of my best friends, she is this really gorgeous woman. And she is married to a man who is a bit on the heavier side. I don't want to say he's fat, but, he's a bigger man. And he did it. It is possible. But you shouldn't judge a woman based on her beauty. You should judge a woman based on what's inside her. Because when you look at a woman who is beautiful on the inside, that's when you have something good. Having a woman who's only beautiful on the outside, it's kind of a toss-up in the air on who they are on the inside. They could just be as beautiful or even more beautiful, or they could be ugly on the inside. But if you only focus on what their outer beauty looks like, you will never know that truth until it's too late. Look at people on the inside. Look at yourself on the inside and say, this is what I want people to see. How do I get people to see that? Am I, you know, angry a lot? Okay, then I need to calm down more. Am I, you know, too aggressive? Okay, I need to take a step back. Am I passive aggressive? Well, I need to, say what I mean, be more direct with what I'm saying. Am I too negative? Well, I kind of need to just hear positive, even if I don't think that. Modify your outside self so people can see the inside self. Because if you put up a wall around you, no one's going to see your inner beauty. Anyways, I guess that does it for me. Ooh, 2 listeners. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm going to be posting this on Twitter and probably Tumblr, so hopefully you get to listen to this. Take a lesson from my life. It is possible to turn your life around, but you've got to want it. You've got to change. The world is not going to change for you. You've got to change for the world. And I know that goes contrary to what anyone has ever probably told you, but it is the truth. I hope these words find you. And again, leave a comment down below. Share your pain. That's the first step to anything, is admitting that you have a problem. Share your pain down below. Anyways, this is Mad Cat signing off. Oh, it's over here.